Paul Robichaud, paramedic, 26 years.
Dan Burke, MCMC, a little over 5 years, and I was in the field as a volunteer firefighter for over 15 years.
Frédéric Harvey, paramedic, 17 ans.
Okay. Matt Crossman, I've been a paramedic for about 15 years.
I'm Craig Pierre, I've been a paramedic for 22 years.
I'm Gwen Boyer, I've been a paramedic for 14 years.
One of the things for me is that I'm always a fixer. I'm the one that has to make sure that everybody else is okay. So I'm more starting the conversation with, how'd you think that call went? And then from there, almost show your vulnerability that, you know, I really didn't feel good about that call, or it kind of bothered me in a way that, you know, I've never seen before, or, you know, it bothered me because of X. The reality is that while I'm trying to make sure that my partner's okay or one of my colleagues is okay, I'm actually helping myself too by talking about it.
And we all have insecurities, and it's just when we're under stress, sometimes, you know, those insecurities come to light. You know, you think, you get guilty, feeling guilty because you feel like you weren't, you didn't do something adequate enough. And, you know, it's sometimes your partner is feeling the same way, and, you know, you talk, as soon as you open up the door to talk about it, then they're willing to share their point of view too. But I think, and you might be in a situation where one thing bothers you 1 minute, and then the next time it doesn't bother you, but it's what's going on in your life at that time and how easily you are dealing with things.
It feels awkward the first time that you have to approach the issue, but somebody has to say it. So it may not come over well sometimes, but just simply asking, you know, how you feeling, or, you know, or even noticing that maybe something might be bothering them, just to sit down and have that honest, genuine conversation. And so it's not easy, but somebody has to start it.
And to add to that, I would say that probably if you're talking to a person who's not really open to the conversation or what you're trying to say, it would be probably a good point of maybe finding somebody else to talk to and not keep that to yourself. If the other person is not really open to what you're saying because maybe they have their own personal experiences that bothers them, absolutely talk to somebody else.
What are the kinds of, I know you said it's very singular and very personal experience that this will affect everyone a little differently, but what are some types of calls that really do stick with you?
Well, the most obvious one I would say probably when a child's involved, an infant's involved, or somebody where might not be an infant, might be an adult, but you feel completely helpless to help that person. That might affect you in that way.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's similar to what Gwen had mentioned before. It's I always took kind of solace in my training and knowing that you're there to help the patient and do what you're trained to do, and for the most time, you know, are really favorable and it's a good outcome. But for me, it's the family that's the hardest, because you sympathize with how they're feeling. It's their loved one that's, you know, could be in a vulnerable situation or not going to pass, you know, not going to make it, they're going to pass away, and you feel bad for the family, and you can relate on your own personal experiences of how that may feel. So.
Oui, ça, tu fais bien de la famille aussi, puis souvent c'est une urgence, il faut que tu quittes avec le patient, puis tu restes sa famille en arrière, sur le côté, des fois ils sont 3 heures du matin, ils sont seuls là, tu peux pas aider nécessairement tout de suite, c'est vraiment la vie du patient, puis c'est ça qui est dur des fois de s'en aller, c'est pas vraiment le patient comme tel, c'est la famille qui reste. Comment y apprendre ça ou deal avec ça, c'est plus dur.
Dan, what about from your side of things?
From our side, it's a little bit different, whereas they do see the family, they do see the patients, they likely know what the outcome is going to be. For us, there's never any closure to a call that, or a serious call that we do get, because we don't know. We are the first responders, if you want. But after that, once the emergency personnel start getting on scene, we don't know. We know they leave for the hospital, and but after that, we don't know what the outcome is. So on that side, it might be a little bit better for us where we don't know what's happening and what's going on, but at the same time, it also makes it hard. Just to add to that too, where Gwen was saying vulnerability and all that, trying to do the best she could with her training. Early on in my careers as a firefighter, what I was told was, we've been called to something that happened. It's not going to be pleasant, but we're there to assist the people that need us. It's not something we created. It's unfortunate we get to see it, but any good that we can do out of that situation, we can't go back in time and erase that. But that's a positive way of thinking too. If we do think that way, I think we're all a little bit one step ahead into our places, or saying this is not our fault. We're there to help the people out. And
I always tell people to take something positive from every call.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how bad it is. It doesn't matter, who's involved. You always have to take one positive thing from it, whether it's that you dealt with the family in a positive way. One thing I've noticed with some of the newer medics is, we talk about serious calls and whatnot, and a lot of them have to say the same thing. They don't know how to deal with the family when they've had a loved one that's died.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if you don't know what to do, you just sit and be quiet and listen. They'll guide you a little.
Ton expérience de vie en vaut beaucoup, c'est quand même comment dealer avec la famille, comment des problèmes personnels que tu as eu, tu peux le transmettre à la famille, c'est ça. Mais quand tu as 20 ans, tu rentres dans la carrière, ça, des fois, tu n'as pas beaucoup d'expérience de vie, tu ne sais pas comment trouver les justes paroles, comme tu dis, de jaser avec la famille, ou juste d'écouter la famille va aider beaucoup, là.
I think too the hard thing is that we want to fix the thing, and really what the family is looking for is just somebody to be there and to talk to them, and to listen to them, and there isn't anything that we're going to be able to say that's going to make it any better other than just being there for the people and being there to offer some sympathy and support.
We're so focused on trying to remain professional in some of these scenes, and especially the ones where we have to stay there for a long time with the family, that we're trying to keep our composure and our emotions in check, and we're just not really prepared for what we're going to be faced from their response. Or sometimes the shock sets in early for the family, and then a few minutes after we've been there, then all of a sudden this host of emotions come out, and we're not prepared for it. So it's a matter of us trying to keep in check, and then just deal with the call at hand, and then make sure that we kind of deal with ourselves afterwards. But we always remain so focused on that we don't let people see our emotions.
Des fois, ce ne sera pas nécessairement le traitement que tu as fait au patient comme tel qui va te déranger parce que tu as fait qu'est-ce que tu pouvais, puis tu l'as bien fait. C'est comment dealer avec la famille, que tu n'as pas les outils nécessaires pour faire. C'est ça qui va te déranger par après, de savoir pas quoi faire avec la famille, puis rester là longtemps.
À force de faire des appels, il y a des fois un détachement professionnel qui se fait. Tu n'en passeras pas jusqu'à temps que tu as affaire avec la famille comme telle. Là, tu t'aperçois que il y a des émotions, il y a un flot d'émotions qui vient de ta part, puis tu dois composer avec, tu dois dealer avec. C'est à ce moment-là que tu en aperçois le plus.